We're seeing her absent from a lot of posts. And when I asked last week, we just talked about this again, what would you do differently? Nothing comes to mind. I think she has that problem often, Andy. Nothing comes to mind on a variety of questions. But no answers on the border, no answers on the economy, no answers on how to get us out of endless wars in places like Ukraine. Let's talk about the border. She was the border czar. Whether they want to call it something else or play word games doesn't matter. We know what she was. We know what her responsibilities were. And there's no accountability here, except the American voters seem to be tuned in on it. They're getting it, aren't they?
Well, it's been said many times, but every small town in America is a border town. And look, Laken Riley is dead because of an illegal immigrant. And Bill Clinton he was asked a question. Bill Clinton admitted to that fact. And you've got 12, 13, 14-year-old girls who are being systematically targeted for sexual assault. That's happened in Iowa, Louisiana, Virginia, New York. The list goes on, in Texas. And those are crimes that never would have been committed if the border was secure. Those are lives and families that have been shattered because of this lack of leadership from the Biden-Harris administration, where she didn't do her job. We have 10 million people here in this country illegally. That's like the 12th largest state in the country. I mean, Tennessee isn't that big. And so we've got a problem. I was with the president a few weeks ago, and I told him, I said, Mr. President, we're going to have the largest deportation in American history. If you want to come here legally, but you can't usurp, break our laws, attack our women, attack our children, mug us, et cetera, and think you get to stay. It's our country. We get to decide who comes in.
Congressman, it seems unusual to me, and look, I'm just some guy living in the country, but it seems unusual to me that you have to put together a new piece of legislation, the Send Them Back Act. I mean, if we just followed the laws that are already on the books, you would think we could send them back, but the Democrats, the left, the progressives have subverted so many of the laws and manipulated the system to game the system to force these people in. What is it, 174 hotels in New York City now housing illegals, billions of dollars being spent, and that's just one city, one example. You shouldn't have to do the Send Them Back Act, but you have to because of the circumstances created by Kamala Harris and the rest, right?
Absolutely. I mean, because you have a justice system that's been weaponized against the American people. You have a justice system that is ignoring laws as they see fit. And look, and I would argue that this invasion of people through the southern border is rather not only serious, but diabolical in the sense they want these folks to vote in New Mexico and Arizona and Nevada. But when you look to the census, when you look to the states like California and New York that are having population flight, who at the next census would lose their number of House of Representative members, they are backfilling the population with illegals. Why? Because if you only accounted American citizens, states like Tennessee, a conservative state, would get more House seats. Florida would get more House seats, et cetera. And so this would shift the makeup of the House of Representatives to be more conservative. And the Democratic Party is in panic mode. And the only way to stop the bleed is to flood our country with illegals and send them to states like Illinois, like Chicago, like California and like New York, because people are moving the heck out of Dodge because they've become so lawless.
Yeah, I've argued for years that California was unlawfully represented in Congress because, look, if each member of Congress represents about 750,000 Americans and you're counting 4 million, maybe 5 million, maybe there's 6 or 8 members of Congress from California today who shouldn't be there. They should be representing other states, but they have gamed the system. And then, of course, they gamed the census as well to have states like Texas and Florida not get the number of representatives they're actually entitled to because you're weighting the system. And I would argue that I'm being disenfranchised as a citizen of Michigan because we might deserve one more electoral vote today than we got because of this gaming of the system using illegal aliens in the census. I'll give you the last word.
Well, absolutely. That's why we have to win the House, the Senate, and the White House. We've got to get all 3 branches of government. And look, the future of our republic is at stake with this election. It's about the economy. It's about securing the borders, but it's also about securing our elections and making sure only U.S. citizens are counted in the census.
Yeah, and that question should be returned. Donald Trump had it on there. Then it was fought. Then it was removed. it's always a way, it's interesting for the Democrats who always say that they want it to be on the up and up. They want every vote to count. But yet when California has 7 extra members of Congress, does every vote count? Rhetorical question, I realize. Congressman, thank you for all that you do. It's important. It's important for accountability at all levels of government. And I'm glad you're doing what you're doing, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Keep up the fight.